For years, Uber drivers can see surge pricing on the map to direct us where to go where it's really busy. But for the last month here in Syracuse in upstate New York, there hasn't been any surge pricing on the map. And I think I know why. Hi, my name is Levi Spires. This is the Tip You in the App Daily Drive podcast. Still here, still adapting. Today's Daily Drive is brought to you by the GigU app, now coming to iPhone. Use the link in the description to sign up today. So it's late August, which is an exciting time for Uber drivers here in upstate New York because all the college kids have come back and it gets really busy. The summertime upstate New York can be really slow. And this is when the surge appears on the map. But let's take a look. In 2023, during Student Move-In Week, Uber paid me $188 in surge. In 2024, it was $163. And in 2025, it was $259 in surge if you were total all of the rides I took in the surge. This year, $0 in surge earnings. So what changed? Has demand decreased or supply of drivers increased? I don't think that's the case. I don't think Uber has dramatically changed the way they price rides. I think what's changed is the way they communicate to drivers or lack of communication about surge pricing. Let me show you two examples here. I'm just going to look at Halloween of last year because I know there was a surge. It was a 5-mile trip, about 1.35 miles. The customer paid $12.81. And I made $18.24. That's because the base fare was $5.24, and I had a $13 surge attached to that ride. Uber lost $10 on that one particular trip. Now this weekend, same place, Ithaca, New York. It was a 6-minute trip, 1.23 miles, almost the exact same time and distance, roughly right around 9 o'clock at night too. The customer paid $38 to do that same trip. I didn't get a surge, but I actually made $16.80. But here's the real interesting thing. Uber made $14.89. Uber said, hey, Levi, your base fare for this trip is $16, just a flat $16. The prices are still high, potentially for passengers, if not even higher, obviously. And these are just two ride examples. This isn't indicative of the whole thing. But instead of saying, Levi, you got a surge or there was a surge price attached to that, I just got a base fare of $16 versus last year, that same time and distance trip would have been $5 or $6 or something like that. Now, the last time I actually saw and earned a surge was right after the Usher and Chris Brown concert here in Syracuse, New York. I think August 1st or August 2nd. They sold out the dome, 35,000 people. That night, there was a little bit of surge, but the next morning, that's when there was a lot of surge. There were surges upwards of like $21, $25, $27. And what does that mean if you see that on the map? That means that if I was a driver and I was in that location, a $27 or $21, that means the next trip I would be offered would be the base fare plus the surge. And even if I wasn't in that location, if I was nearby, but if somebody in that location ordered a trip, Uber might still offer me $21 surge or something like that. For a brief time, for about a 2-week time period, every now and then on a trip offer, Uber might say, there's a flash incentive. So there was no surge on the map or surge applied to the fare, but there was a flash incentive. And the last time I saw that was the week after the Usher concert. So no surge, no flash incentive. So as a driver, you're kind of waiting. Hey, when the college kids come back, it's going to get really busy and there's going to be surges. And there hasn't been any surges. And I'm addicted to Uber driving. I'm always looking at my phone, is there a surge? Is there a surge? Because the surge is what I would know is that, hey, it's busy. Let me go out and drive. And it's been like that since 2020 when I first started driving. And only till now have we not had surge to indicate that it's busy. What Uber has done is now they show me minutes or time between offers. It could be like 1 to 15 minutes, 1 to 7 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes, 1 minute. I think what they're trying to say is that every minute or a range within there will be a trip offered to you as a driver. So the old game used to be, we'd look at things like incentives like surge zones, bonuses, streaks, promotions, all of these things to increase of our earnings. And all of that's kind of gone away. In fact, let me kind of give you a list of all the different things that Uber used to pay me: base fare, time, distance, minimum fare supplements, long pickup distance, long pickup miles, wait time, stop time, cancellation fees, surge quests, bonuses, consecutive trip bonuses, EV bonuses, flash incentives. There's all these different ways that Uber used to incentivize. And some things still exist. We still get a base fare and we still get cancellation fee and potentially some wait time. But there's no such thing as a long distance. I could be offered a trip 30 minutes away and I just have to eat that sometimes. There's no EV bonuses. Uber doesn't promote electric cars anymore. And again, there's no quests, there's no bonuses, there's no flash incentives, and now there's no surges. What does that really mean for the passengers? That means that the price that you're paying, the driver's getting a percentage of that. It used to be, because of surge, especially the sticky surges, that sometimes you'd pay $20, but the driver earned $30. Uber lost money on that one particular trip, and Uber would have to make it back on other trips. Now, for this, at least the way I've been able to see it, is that Uber charges $20. The driver's going to get a percentage of that. Now, for me, what has that percentage been? Somewhere between 35 to 50% of the fare. The way Uber reports it back to me, it says, Levi, here is the breakdown of last week's transactions. If the passengers paid $1,000, Levi, 8% goes to taxes. Uber's going to get their 20 to 25% cut. There's going to be commercial auto insurance. That could be somewhere between 20 to 30%. Who knows what that might be. And then Levi, you get the balance. You get the rest of it. And so that's somewhere between, like I say, I've had as little as like 35%, and I've gotten as much as 50, 51% lately. And even that 51% is not really the case, because sometimes that's when I cash out sick leave. We get sick leave here in the state of New York. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. And so government takes money in forms of taxes and then they pay it back to us in the form of sick leave. So it's kind of just a big waste. Yeah, that's what's going on right now here in upstate New York. Now, what does that mean for drivers? Again, I am addicted to my phone. I grab it all the time and I look at it and I'm trying to figure out, where are the surges? I look at the map. Should I go to Watertown? Should I go to Syracuse? Should I go to Ithaca? Should I go to Binghamton? Where should I go to earn the most amount of money? I used to look at surges and now I don't see them on the map. So I haven't adapted to my driving style. But here's what I do know. There are big fares for short miles sitting out there. I assume the way Uber would explain it is that it's because, hey, it's surging right now. There's a lot of demand for rides and there's not a lot of drivers. We're going to pay a lot on this one particular trip. But it'd be really weird. I'll get like a trip for $6, $6, and all of a sudden $30. And you're like, okay. So what does all this tell me? I should just be more patient as a driver. And so instead of trying to maximize my surges as a driver, what I'm going to do now is just sit parked for longer periods of time and decline low paying rides until the trip that I think is worth my time, I'll take. That's why, by the way, I like the GigU app. The GigU app does all those calculations for me. I'm not saying I didn't do that before in the past, but I used to use the Uber map where there were surges and try to chase those surges, not necessarily minute by minute, but I go, wow, I keep seeing a $5, a $10 surge pop up in this one location on the map. I should drive there. And in time, that $5 or $10 surge would pop up. That's the sticky surge that would happen. Now, why would Uber do this? I think a couple of big things are happening. But first, Uber doesn't want to pay sticky surges. And I understand that. Yeah, as a driver, it can be frustrating because I want to make more money. But the reality is like Uber said, go to this spot. There's a $10 surge. And this happens all the time at my house. Let me explain. I live in the middle of nowhere. If one person orders an Uber ride, but nobody in my village is around with the Uber app on, Uber will put a surge in the market. It'll say $5 or $10 surge. And so a driver from Syracuse might drive all the way out to Cazenovia, where I live, to get that $5 or $10 surge and get that fare. I would be at my house and I just happen to look at my phone and I'll see the surge, $10 surge. So what will I do? I turn the Uber app on and boom, it says, hey, Levi, your next ride will pay you $10 extra than before. However, most of the time, that ride that was already here in the local area had already been accepted by another trip. There's just a delay in the time period in which Uber can turn that surge off. What ends up happening is I'm sitting on a $10 surge out in the middle of nowhere, and I've seen hours go by where I don't get a trip. Now, my next trip will have a $10 surge, but I'm at my house making videos or I'm eating dinner with my family or whatever it might be. There's not a trip, but I'm sitting on a sticky $10 surge. Uber got rid of that. Uber's not going to lose money. That's what it looks like. Uber's not going to lose money on any trips anymore. From now on, they're just going to pay drivers a flat percentage. And for me, it's somewhere between 37 to 50% of the fare. And it's hard to understand because it'll say base fare, $16 to go a mile. I don't understand that calculation. All I know is somehow, some way, Uber has been able to identify that passenger has to pay more for whatever reason. And Levi, we're going to give you a cut of that. So it makes me feel like I'm in on the game a little bit. Hey, Uber found a way to extract as much value out of that person as possible. Levi, don't tell anybody, but we're giving you a piece of that. That's what it feels like. Because it's not tied, at least according to what I can see on the data that's given to me from Uber. Hey, Levi, supply and demand is really high or whatever. And again, I'm not accusing Uber of anything. I'm just saying I don't have data to back up why the fare was what it was. But what's the really big reason? Why is Uber doing this? Let's kind of go through the timeline really quickly, the way things used to be. It used to be taxis with a rate card printed on the side of the door. And taxi drivers used to drive around hoping to get hailed down by somebody, and that was the price of the taxi. And then Uber kind of adopted that. And then there was like an 80% take rate fee or whatever. And they started saying, well, when demand is really high, because we're an algorithm, Uber is an algorithm, we can start to charge higher prices. That was surge pricing, surge multiplier, things like that. And by the way, we need bonuses. We need to get drivers out there in the market. So we're going to play Quest and all that kind of stuff. Uber doesn't need that for the most part in my city, my area. But why is Uber trying to make as much money as possible right now? Everybody is. Me, I'm trying to, you're trying to, we're all trying to make as much money as possible. We're all trying to pay as little as possible. But Uber's got a bigger problem. Waymo, Zoox, Robotaxi. They're coming. Uber's got a limited time between now and when those come online to start taking away, not necessarily the size of the market, because the assumption is that when Waymo comes to your town, more people are just going to order rides, but it's setting a price. Right now, for the most part, it's Uber, maybe Lyft. And I say maybe because, again, I'll turn Lyft on and not get a ride. So I assume there are Lyft drivers making money here locally, but not me. But there's Uber, Lyft, maybe I'll catch the bus, maybe I'll walk. That's what people are comparing. But soon people are going to go in their phones and maybe have an AI agent do the work for them. They're going to go out there and say, how much is it to get from point A to point B? And your agent or whoever's going to shop all the different available options. So Uber's window where they can extract as much margin as possible. And again, logically and reasonably so. Again, I don't blame them. I understand it. That window is going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. That's why I think Uber's doing this. Logically, I can't even blame Uber. It's frustrating as a driver because now it's a new game for me to learn. It's like Every 6 months is like, okay, how do I make money now? Every 6 months is like a new way to figure out how to be an Uber driver. And it looks like for me, there's no longer going to be surge on the map. So now I've got a different way to operate. But Uber's got to do this. Uber got rid of sticky surges, it looks like, because now they have the ability to control a margin on every single trip. And they don't owe me an explanation, but it is curious, why did that passenger pay that price, and why am I getting 37% of it? What's going to happen in the future? That's the real interesting thing for drivers. My gut feeling is that Uber is going to continue now to push the take rate for drivers down, because now there's no explanation of the fare. Again, I got $16 for that trip, but a driver that comes into town and starts driving tomorrow, who's never driven before, says, well, I got paid $14. Another driver comes into town a year later, goes, well, I got paid $12 to go a mile. That's amazing. And they're going to expand those margins as much as they can. And then when Robotaxi and Zoox or Waymo enter into said market, like let's say upstate New York, I don't know. That's the honest answer, is I really don't know. And I like to try to understand it. I want to understand it. It's fascinating to try to understand it. It's important for me as a driver to understand it because I make money off of it. But the truth is like the take rates and the percentages applied, they're just numbers. They have no backing to them. There's no set percentage. There's no set payment per mile. There's no set price for the passenger. It's just numbers thrown on a screen. Take it or leave it. You got 15 seconds, 10 seconds. You got to make a decision. And I think the passengers feel that way. It can be really frustrating. Why? Yesterday I ordered an Uber. It was $12 to go from here to there. Now it's $25. Why? And as a driver, you're like, yesterday I got paid $10 for that fare. Why am I only getting $6 today? Uber, it's like a black box of information. You don't know. You either take it or leave it. And that's the way it's going to be. So I don't think Uber killed the money. Again, I still think I made okay money this weekend, but I think it killed visibility in terms of surge pricing here in upstate New York. I thought for sure last weekend was a busy weekend. It was the first weekend with all the parents and the students back in town. There's always surges when that takes place. Even $1 surge, there was nothing on the map. Yet I still made okay money. And the strategy, as a reminder to drivers, my strategy is sit parked, decline low-paying fares until the fare that you see comes in that pays you what you want, exceeds the amount you're looking for, take that fare. And if you're like, I'm not getting paid to sit parked, understand, turn on Lyft, turn on DoorDash, turn on Grubhub, turn on all these apps. Because if you were to multi-app, and if you were to use an app like GigU, you can now go, here's all the fares that are coming in. And GigU just says, green light, take this ride, yellow light, don't. It'll all be laid out for you. And if you're good with the map, maybe you don't need it, but GigU is amazing, and I'm glad they're a sponsor of the program. Speaking of which, shout out to GigU and to Red Tiger, sponsors of The Daily Drive. Subscribe to Upfront Tip, where I email you this information directly, so you don't have to wait for YouTube or anybody else to publish this content. You get it exactly into your inbox with my thoughts written down. So it'd be shorter, I guess would be a way to look at it. Hey, become a Thrive member here on this channel. If you become a Thrive member, it's like $4 a month. It helps me do this work, and you get some inside content behind the scenes and some stuff like that, early access to videos. But if you don't want to pay, I understand. Don't pay. You want to be a member of a community? Join Thrive over on Facebook. It's for drivers only. This is your warning. No sales pitches. No, I'll kick you right off the group as quickly as possible if you are. But of course, you can connect with me anywhere, anytime. I'm pretty available, especially over on X. That's where I spend most of my time talking about golf, politics, Uber, economics, you name it from there. Drivers, I want you to be safe, healthy, and happy. I want you to make as much money as possible, but I definitely want you to enjoy the ride. My name is Levi Spires. I'm still here. I'm cheering for you. Be well. Bye.